If you've ever looked at modern dating and thought, why am I putting in so much time, money, and emotional energy, and getting confusion, mixed signals, and entitlement back? It's not in your head. It's a pattern. And in this episode, I'm going to give you the 8 hard reasons more and more men are pulling back in dating. Reasons most people won't say out loud because it threatens the entire marketplace. Not because women are the enemy, not because men should become cold, but because the rules have changed, expectations have become inconsistent, and a smart man learns to protect his time, his self-respect, and his peace. Here's what matters. Most men don't consciously choose to reduce effort. They get trained into it. They overinvest too early. They tolerate imbalance. They ignore red flags because they want it to work. And then one day they realize they've been paying premium prices for low effort. Emotional exhaustion, less confidence, less respect for themselves, and women who take more than they give. So listen closely, because by the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly why men are stepping back, and more importantly, what you must do differently so you only invest in women who actually fit your standards and match your energy. Now, before we go into the 8 reasons, you need the context. Because if you don't understand the environment men are reacting to, you'll think this is men being lazy or men being bitter. It's neither. It's adaptation. Dating is not just romance. It's an exchange. It's a negotiation of effort, respect, and reciprocity. And when one side is told they are valuable simply for showing up, while the other side is told they must constantly prove they deserve a chance, you don't get love. You get a market. You get performance. You get resentment. You get burnout. A man with standards isn't afraid of effort. A man with standards is allergic to wasted effort. He'll plan the date. He'll pay sometimes. He'll lead. He'll be generous. But he won't be extorted emotionally. He won't compete with 10 invisible options. He won't buy affection from someone who treats him like an audition. And that's the frame for this entire episode. This isn't about hating women. This is about men learning to stop donating their lives to dynamics that don't reward character, only compliance. All right, let's get into the 8 reasons. The first reason is the one nobody wants to admit exists until it hits them in the face. The double standard of modern equality. A man hears, "I'm independent, I don't need anyone." Fine, respect. He hears, "I earn as much as a man." Great. He hears, "We want equality." Perfect. And then the date comes, and suddenly he's expected to pay, expected to plan, expected to pursue, expected to perform tradition, expected to lead, expected to protect, expected to provide emotional stability, expected to be available, but also expected to never expect anything back too early, because that would be pressure. So which is it? Because equality cannot be a menu where you only pick the benefits. If you want modern freedom, you also accept modern responsibility. And when men sense that the rules change depending on what advantages a woman wants in the moment, they don't become angry, they become cautious. They reduce effort, not out of spite, but out of intelligence. Here's the truth. When the social contract becomes inconsistent, a man stops signing it. He stops paying full price up front. He waits to see if the other person actually believes in partnership, or only believes in winning. And that leads directly into reason 2. What I call the minimum theater. Today, you'll see endless content where women describe the bare minimum a man must do just to be considered. Plan, pay, text consistently, bring flowers, compliments, emotional availability on demand, constant reassurance, a perfect blend of masculine dominance and gentle sensitivity, and somehow 0 expectations in return. And men are sitting there thinking, if this is the minimum, what's the maximum? What does she do? Because the problem isn't standards. Standards are healthy. The problem is standards without self-audit. The problem is entitlement dressed up as empowerment. A mature man isn't offended by a woman who knows what she wants. He's turned off by a woman who presents demands as if her presence is a prize that automatically justifies his investment. Because partnership is built, not purchased. When a woman leads with requirements before she leads with character, it signals something important. She sees dating as extraction. She sees men as service providers. And the highest value men do not volunteer for that role. They walk away quietly. They reduce effort. They stop auditioning. Now, reason 3 is where many men finally start protecting themselves. Unclear interest. Here's the reality nobody wants to say cleanly. A lot of modern dating encourages women to keep their interest ambiguous. Not always consciously. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's strategy. Sometimes it's, I don't want to look eager. Sometimes it's, I want to keep options open. But the effect on men is brutal, because men are expected to give full effort, money, planning, initiative, emotional energy, while the woman keeps her cards hidden. And a man with self-respect eventually asks the obvious question, why am I investing in someone who won't even show basic clarity? In business, you don't fund a company that won't show you its numbers. In dating, you shouldn't fund a connection that won't show you its interest. And let's be honest, unclear interest often gives one person all the power with none of the risk. If it works, they can claim they never chased. If it fails, they can claim they never led you on. Meanwhile, the man carries the risk, financially and emotionally, hoping he guessed right. That's why smart men reduce effort until interest becomes visible. They stop being romantic gamblers. Reason 4 is the consequence of all that ambiguity, the collapse of real reciprocity. This is the point where men start to feel like they're paying for access, not building connection. They plan dates, they pay, they drive, they initiate, they remember details, they entertain, they regulate the mood, they show up emotionally. And what does the woman invest? Often, just her attendance. And men feel it. They feel when the dynamic is, I'm lucky she showed up, instead of, we're lucky we found each other. They feel when appreciation is replaced by expectation. They feel when effort is treated like a tax. Real reciprocity isn't 50-50 every time. It's balance over time. It's initiative. It's warmth. It's the woman suggesting a plan sometimes. It's her checking in. It's her making you feel chosen, not tolerated. It's her bringing peace to your life, not constant evaluation. When a man doesn't feel reciprocity, he doesn't always confront it. High-value men often don't argue. They adjust. They reduce effort. They go quiet. They stop offering boyfriend energy to someone who's giving stranger energy. Reason 5 is the cultural amplifier, the princess mindset. This is the belief that a woman deserves premium treatment simply for existing, while a man must prove his worth through spending, chasing, and constant effort. It's romance turned into a hierarchy. She is served, he is tested. Social media turbocharged this. Online, attention is free. Compliments are infinite. Validation is constant. That can distort self-perception. Some women start believing they are rare simply because they have a lot of DMs. But attention is not commitment. Options are not outcomes. And being desired is not the same as being partner material. A man with standards isn't trying to impress a princess. He's trying to choose a teammate. And here's the line that separates the women men invest in from the women men abandon. A high-quality woman makes a man's life feel lighter, not more expensive, emotionally or financially. So, when men encounter the princess mindset, demands, attitude, entitlement, constant prove it, they don't become cheap. They become selective. They stop overgiving. They stop feeding the fantasy. Now, reason 6 is where modern dating becomes completely different from the old world, the backup plan mentality. Dating apps changed the psychology of choice. They created the feeling that there is always someone better one swipe away. And that does something dangerous. It encourages people to treat humans like a portfolio. A man thinks he's building something. The woman is casually rotating conversations with 5, 10, 15 men, keeping her emotional investment low while keeping her options high. And then she expects exclusivity behavior from him, attention, planning, emotional stability, while she offers none. This creates the most common modern male response, mirroring. Not as revenge, as self-protection. When a man senses he is one of many, he stops acting like he has found the one. He stops giving exclusive energy. He stops paying exclusive prices. He He stops building dreams in a situation that hasn't earned commitment. And yes, this is painful, because it turns dating into a game of risk management. But men didn't invent that. They adapted to it. Reason 7 is the quiet poison in the background. Social media reality distortion. Many women are being trained, daily, to believe romance must feel like entertainment, that dates must be cinematic, that gestures must be dramatic, that a man must constantly produce moments, and if he doesn't, he's boring, low effort, not masculine enough. But real connection isn't content. Real love is built in ordinary life. It's built in consistency, not highlights. A man cannot compete with a feed. He shouldn't try. So when men notice a woman is only excited by spectacle, only responsive when it's extravagant, they recognize the truth. She isn't attracted to him. She's attracted to stimulation. And that's an unwinnable game, because stimulation tolerance always increases. Today's impressive gesture becomes tomorrow's baseline expectation. That's when men step back, because they want peace, not performance. And now we reach reason 8. The one that breaks men emotionally because it happens where trust should live. Emotional manipulation as normal behavior. This is when affection becomes a lever, when tears become a tactic, when guilt becomes currency, when the relationship becomes a constant negotiation where the woman escalates emotion to get more investment while giving less accountability. If you really loved me, you would... That sentence is rarely love, it's pressure. Now, let me be precise. Emotions are real. Pain is real. Vulnerability is real. But using emotional intensity to override boundaries is manipulation, no matter who does it. And men are increasingly learning this lesson the hard way. They learn that if they respond to emotional spikes by overgiving, they train the relationship into a pattern where drama pays. And if drama pays, drama increases. A mature man doesn't ignore feelings. He also doesn't obey them blindly. He responds to patterns. He watches behavior over time. He invests in women who communicate clearly, who take responsibility, who repair conflict without threats, guilt, or ultimatums. And this is where the episode turns from critique into instruction, because here's the part most men need. Reducing effort is not the goal. Intelligent investment is the goal. You should still invest, but only when the woman earns it. So what are the signs she deserves more of you? First, she shows real interest through actions, not just words. She initiates contact sometimes. She responds with consistency. She makes it easy to see she wants to be there, not like you're lucky she showed up. Second, she lives reciprocity. She doesn't keep score in a petty way, but she contributes. She suggests a date occasionally. She offers help. She brings warmth. She makes you feel appreciated. She gives back in ways that matter. Third, she's emotionally mature. No games, no constant tests, no punishment silence, no manipulation. She can disagree without trying to control you. She can express needs without making you responsible for her emotional stability. When those traits are present, a man can safely increase effort step by step. Not all at once, not to win her, but to build with her. That's the new dating intelligence. You lead with standards, you invest in response to evidence, and you stop trying to force outcomes with women who don't match you. And if you're hearing this and realizing you've been over-investing in the wrong women, don't beat yourself up. Most men were trained to believe that effort alone wins love. It doesn't. Clarity wins. Standards win. Selection wins. And when you get those right, your effort finally creates results instead of exhaustion. Now let's recap the 8 reasons men are pulling back. Inconsistent equality expectations, minimum demand culture, unclear interest, lack of reciprocity, princess entitlement, backup plan rotation, social media fantasy standards, and emotional manipulation becoming normalized. The principle behind all of it is simple. When effort is not respected, effort disappears. When investment is not reciprocated, investment becomes selective. Men aren't giving up. They're learning to protect themselves. So don't take this as a reason to hate dating. Take it as a reason to date like a man who values his life. If this episode made you feel seen and gave you language for what you've been experiencing, subscribe to the show. And leave a comment with the one reason that hit you the hardest, or the moment you realized you were investing in someone who didn't deserve it. In the next episode, I'm going to break down the 12 brutal truths that push men from pulling back to quitting completely, and what to do before you reach that point. I'm your host, and this is the place where we talk about modern dating with clarity, not cliches. See you in the next episode.